Welcome back to Sailing Northern Breeze for Season 2. We're back to Scotland. We've had some family issues to take care of, so we missed the first half of the sailing season. Thankfully, those issues have been stabilized, and we finally boarded a flight to begin our season on July 31st. In this video, we'll get back to the boat, we'll do a little maintenance, and a few DIY jobs. We landed in Dublin on August 1st for a quick changeover, and then hopped the second flight on to Glasgow. Our passports were stamped in Dublin, but not in Glasgow, which caused some Schengen concerns. We'll talk to you about those later in the episode. They'll be of interest to people who are non-Schengen, non-EU. Since we flew overnight, crossing 5 time zones, arrival in the morning makes for a long day with tired travelers. So we booked a hotel in Glasgow and took an afternoon double-decker bus tour to relax. An early night, and then the following day, we're off to Troon to see our boat after 11 long months away. We held a cab for a ride to go pick up our rental van, and when we were talking to the driver about our travels, he asked if we'd arrive by boat or by ship.
My second hire was a sea captain, an elderly gent. So I says, you know, you're just the man to ask. And he says to me, well, first things first, they're not called boats or ships. He says, we call them vessels, right? And I went, okay. He says, secondly, he says, there is no written rule when a boat will become a ship. And he said to me, and I hope it's good enough for you, because it's been enough for me all my life, right? And I says, listen, Captain, see whatever you tell me. That's it, God's word. Believe me. He says, that old captain said to me that day, a ship will carry a boat, but a boat will never carry a ship. I thought, do you know what? My brain can actually take that.
Friends that we'd met on SV Fornautic, the boat that was next to us in the slip at Troon, had been looking in on the breeze over the winter, but we're still nervous. The winter on the west coast of Scotland is not very cold compared to Canada, but it is very windy. Our winter cover took a beating, but it held up well. Marie will make a few repairs to it, but after a winter on the Atlantic in Nova Scotia, and now on the west coast of Scotland, it looks pretty good. The ties that held it to the tow rail have been broken in several locations, but they're just string or cord. But we also have a hole at the end of the boom, along with a few issues at the shrouds, but overall, this Top Gun material held up pretty well. After Marie does her magic with her sewing machine, it'll be good as new. And now for our pre-season work. We have the annual maintenance as usual, and a couple of DIY projects that we'll do before we leave the port. The anodes on the prop shaft and the prop need replacement, and we've cleaned up the sea life from the blades of the prop also. And of course, we had to return to the Wee Hurry, our favorite fish and chips takeaway at the end of the commercial docks here, where the seals hang out, hoping for scraps from the fishing vessels. These guys are huge, as the sign says, up to 310 kilograms, or nearly 700 pounds. It takes a lot of fish to keep these big boys and girls healthy and warm in these cold waters. And then while we ate our lunch, we watched the next fish come ashore. This is an industrial scale process for sure. They scoop the live fish from the boat in these large bags and then load them into the live well trucks. If you look closely, you'll see a few tails sloshing about above the white bags, and then see them in their little water slides heading down into the trucks. Those are some big fish in that water slide. 3, maybe 4 feet long. I think they're cod. Anyways, that's a lot of fish and chips. And now the DIY. Well, not really why. We work with Neil and his amazing crew at West Coast Marine in Troon. So it was DI, but it was us in there. So our spinnaker is 2,000 square feet, nearly 200 square meters, and it's too much for just Marie and I to handle offshore. It's literally the size of our house. Last season we learned the limitations of our simple jib and mainsail inventory, particularly when sailing downwind, so we're adding a furling asymmetric sail, or a gennaker. Since it furls, we'll be able to manage it, even though it is over 1,300 square feet. To fly this new sail, we'll need a place to attach the furler. Neil and his crew at West Coast Marine did a great job of turning my concept sketch into a functioning new bowsprit type attachment, keeping with the classic lines of our boat and not distracting from its beauty. I sketched this up over the winter, and Neil was able to add to the design, substituting a bar where I had a pad eye, and had it manufactured in stainless with some very robust welds after a couple of dry fits. First the wooden template, and then it was off to the shop. And then some DIY. So today we changed the scupper hoses. We've had them on the boat since we bought it, 2018. We've got a bit of a water leak under the aft cabin bed. The only guess we've had and not been fixing so far is the scupper hose. So down into this little tiny hole, pull those hoses. Never any fun. Now I feel like Mads and Ava. And we're in. Scupper hose. Release the clamps. Okay, clamps are released. Let's see if this will pull off of here. I doubt it, but we'll see. Well, I didn't touch it. Not as difficult as it could have. Not as difficult as it could have been, eh?
Okay, stop.
I think we need to soften this up a bit. Okay, new scupper hose in place. The spare fuel tanks back in where they go. Clamps pointing opposite directions as required by code. Ooh, scuba tank. Talk to you later. Bye. We replaced 3 of these scupper hoses, the 4th we had done the prior year. Video, the little numbers clicking by on the top.
They are. So, as you try to get out of this hole, I'll remind you that Baltics are built for speed, not for comfort. So there you go.
If your chest is any more than 42 inches and you have 2 arms, you're not going in there. Ciao. And then the next job was to reattach our B&G Auto Helm drive cylinder. At the end of last season, our little friend Otto had stopped working. We were very careful to fully inspect all systems on our boat, but I missed this. The cylinder that steers the boat to a set course was attached to the hull on an angle bracket with 2 M10 bolts. I missed these in my checks. In crossing the Atlantic, they vibrated free as we approached Scotland. And the cylinder fell off, and we lost our good friend Otto. This spring, Marie squeezed into that Port Lazaret and was able to reattach on it. That side is a lot less space than the starboard side where I was changing those scupper hoses. Thanks, Marie. Then it was time for a break at the Harbor Bar. We visited this wonderful little place for dinner or 2, and a pint or 3, and some good music and rugby watching. And then back to the annual maintenance before we launch.
guess it's good you're pushing it out.
Yeah.
Not sure how good it is that it was in there.
Not good that it was in there all last year. We should have done this last fall in hindsight, eh?
Clearly.
One more.
So, it was supposed to be raining all week here in Scotland. We arrived on Monday after a long flight from Canada. And it's been cloudy. It's been a few sprinkles. But boy, this is not the 100% chance of rain that we had been expecting. It's been beautiful. And today is an exciting day. The boat goes in the water. Finally, we're going to be down on this dock. We'll be at E27 in a couple hours. The tide's too low right now. They can't put us in the water because we'll never get around that guy out there, the reef chief, who came in yesterday. A super yacht owned by an American. Anyways, he's in the channel. We have, they tell us here now, 2.7 meters of draft, and they don't have enough water right now. So we got to wait a couple hours for the tide. So we're off to the storage locker to pick some stuff up, and then we're off to the hardware store to pick up some new ductwork, because when our autopilot disengaged and the bolts came out, it dropped onto the ductwork and smashed some of the ductwork. Ready to go. In a couple of hours, we'll be floating. Woohoo! Breakfast in Scotland at the Scottish restaurant McDonald's. We've cleaned out the storage locker, which was stacked to the roof, and loaded it into our van, and we're ready to take it to the boat. We've waited until the boat is going into the water to avoid having to carry all this stuff up the ladder. The boat is much easier to load when she's floating beside the dock. See the Northern Breeze mast, the black one, way shorter than those other fellas. That guy's huge. And there she is, back where she wants to be, floating in salt water. What a great feeling after 11 long months. Wow. And now to load the boat and put everything in its place. This will take a few minutes, so I'll tell you a bit of a story. First, we took nearly everything off the boat: cushions, provisions, safety gear, tools, spares, etc., to dry it out all out over the winter. Last season, as we sailed the North Atlantic, the water was cold. In Greenland, the sea was 3 degrees Celsius, or about 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was basically the temperature of the boat's hull. And when you breathe inside the boat, you exhale moist air, which condenses when it hits that 3-degree hull, and mold grows, and it grows well. We had days of cleaning mold. So we cleaned everything, put much in storage, and then ran small wattage tube heaters and a dehumidifier inside the boat all winter. And it worked. The boat was dry, mold-free, and odor-free when we returned in August. It's a lot of work, but it was worthwhile. Marie normally moves quite fast, but here she is at 10 times clock speed. And the second part of the story, our moms. We had planned on returning to the boat in May. Unfortunately, both of our mothers had significant falls in April. We spent the next few months, along with our families, getting both moms through some healing and into new living situations. Once they were settled, near the end of July, we decided there was still a few months of sailing season left, so we boarded an airship and returned to our wee ship on August 2nd. We dropped our car with a check-in because there's a very long lineup. So we'll do a little check-in video so there's no issues. No dents, no damage. It's all good. After unloading the van onto the boat, we dropped it back in Glasgow, where the International Cycling Championships were underway. Wow. We saw a few road races downtown, but they also had many other competitions around the city, including mountain biking and even BMX and trick riding, I recall. The dedication of these athletes and their teams is awesome. Outside Glasgow Central Station. We also picked up a couple of 3 branded SIM cards for our own phones. We don't recommend 3. And then we took a leisurely train trip back to Troon. And we're back on the docks again, seeing the sea creatures again. There are many of these large white jellies in the marina. The water must be reasonably clean to support the seals and these jellies, along with their food chains. These jellies are about a foot or 30 centimeters across, and nearly 2 feet or 50 to 60 centimeters in length. And now, finally preparing to install our new stainless weldment. First, I have to clean up those mating surfaces and prep them for the new part and the adhesives. It's also important to keep the stainless from touching the black anodized aluminum parts to prevent galvanic corrosion. We'll seal the areas where the new stainless touches both the painted fiberglass and the aluminum. Here, Neil is doing the easy bit. Marie and I had disassembled this, so we were happy to let Neil's guys do the reattachment, as getting the nuts onto the back of those bolts requires significant boat gymnastics. You'll see here a pair of legs flopping about while the nuts are installed and tightened inside the anchor locker. And it's done. Looks great. Good, strong, clean welds and a beautiful polish to keep our Baltic looking spiffy. So that's it for this episode. Welcome back. We've missed sharing our adventures with you.
Stop videoing.
And this time our gratitude goes out a few places. First, to Jill and Steve, who have their own YouTube channel and who very graciously looked in on our Brees over the past 10 months. It was very much appreciated. Thanks, guys. To the staff at Troon Yacht Haven, who accommodated our many requests and our much delayed schedule. And also to Neil and his crew, who not only fixed some dock rash that was acquired in the Faroes with some excellent paintwork, but he also helped design and finally manufacture our new asymmetric furling attachment. All while coming in under budget, which is very much appreciated as it is rare in the boating industry. So we'll see you again soon for some more DIY and finally getting underway. See ya!